A very warm welcome into the huddle for the first of two episodes this week, the NFC and AFC Conference Championship weekends. We couldn't just do one episode, there's two huge games, so we're breaking it down, starting today, Friday's episode on the NFC Championship game, and then on Saturday at around midday, you can go back on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find here at HuddleUK to find our AFC Championship episode. We've got guests coming on from all four teams to represent their teams, so myself and Jake, our regular hosts here at HuddleUK, we don't have our bias. Our charges and bills are out of it anyway, so there's not much joy that we could say. We weren't here last week. Apologies. I've been doing a lot of traveling with work, so just didn't have the time. Almost tried to record one from a hotel, but the Wi-Fi did not play ball last week, let's say. But we are back. We got two episodes, as I said, this week to make up for it. I'm the host, Philip Marsh. Thank you very much for joining in to the huddle. Jake, I don't want to go into loads of details for last weekend's because we've got loads to ramble through. But the headlines, I guess, from the NFC side of things, a miracle throw from Caleb Williams towards the end, but the Rams was unbelievable. No affiliation to the Bears, but what a moment! One of the best moments of the playoffs so far. But the Rams got the job done with Harrison Mevis kicking the game winner in overtime, and then the Seahawks, well, just battering the 49ers in the other NFC game. Darnold only threw 17 passes. He only had 12 completions on the game, but Kenneth Walker, 3 touchdowns, 116 yards on 19 carries. Unbelievable. And Cooper Kupp, who we're going to talk about a bit later on, I'm sure, against when he plays his former team, the Rams, he led the Seahawks in receptions in that game with 5 for 60. Jackson Smith-Njigba, who we've waxed lyrical about all year, he did get a touchdown in that game, but only 19 yards. So they can throw it around everywhere, can Seattle, and are going to be a force to be reckoned with. But the Rams, this won't be easy in this NFC West matchup. It's the later game on Sunday, 11:30. The kickoff on this one, 8 o'clock, the first one in the AFC, the Broncos Patriots, which I said we'll get into all of the nicks or now no nicks on tomorrow's episode. No. But today we're focusing purely, sorry Broncos fans. Today we're focused purely on that NFC game. So we've got guests on to represent both teams today. We've got Matt joining us from the LA Rams UK group, and then Mitch from the 12 Talk podcast, one of the UK's biggest Seahawks podcasts. And Jake, you know these guys, don't you, from a fantasy football league you're in?
Yes. Mitch is a new recruit to one of our fantasy football leagues. It's been going on for a good while, and it's a little bit something different. But maybe you don't want to talk fantasy right now, do you?
No, we'll leave fantasy till the end of the episode.
Yeah.
We'll save that to the end. But as we'll get on to in a minute, the 12 Talk podcast at 12 Talk Pod and the LA Rams group, you can go find them on Twitter at LA Rams_UK. So we're going to welcome the guests in now to represent their teams, because as I said, our teams, we're nowhere to be seen. Maybe next year, hey Jake, when we do our debrief at the end of the year. So let's jump into it. NFC chat today. Seattle Seahawks against the LA Rams. Matt, we'll start with you as the underdogs, if you want to say it, the away team in this game. How did you become a Rams fan? I can see you got the salute to service Rams jersey on there.
So my wife has got lots of American family who live between Chicago and St. Louis. We go over to St. Louis a lot. So when we got married, we went over to see them. We went to a college game. And it really, I loved it. Having watched it in the 80s and kind of drifted away to go and see college game, it just relit the fire. So when I got back home, I was like, right, Bears, Rams, where do we go most? So I chose the Rams. Then the upsticks and moved over to LA.
Well, Bears and Rams, I mean, right now, it both would have been a good option. A thrilling game, as we already talked about. Caleb Williams, that throw, will live down in the ages. And Mitch, yourself, Seahawks, where's the route into being a 12?
Well, I went to a Super Bowl party, which was it Super Bowl 49, where we played the Patriots. And my friends that were there told me I had to pick a team. And the winning team I would have to support, that would be my team. I'd have to get a jersey. Having watched Marshawn Lynch for the first time and the likes of Michael Bennett, that Legion of Boom, Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, there was no way, despite the grueling loss, there was no way I wouldn't go back to the NFL to watch that group. So I basically was told to pick the winner, and I picked the loser. My life story, to be honest. Picking losers all the time.
You're talking to a Bills fan and a Chargers fan. We're not exactly the winners over here on this side of the AFC. So that what a killer end to that one that was. Just to kick things off, just to get us into it, I've got a few sort of head-to-head questions. I want to see how much faith you have in your own team and how much you're willing to admit where the other team in this NFC conference game may be a little better. We're going to start off with an easy one, I think, of passing yards. Who had the most passing yards this season?
For me, it's the Rams, but it's insanely close considering the run first.
Yeah, the Rams do edge this one. They've got, it's about 700 more on the season, actually a bit under that. But yeah, the Rams with Stafford and then Puka Nacua lead that one. What about completion percentage, though? Which team do you think has the highest percentage?
I think we've got this one, but it's an easy, low-hanging bit of fruit when you run the ball 75% of the time, I reckon.
So you're going to say the Seahawks have the highest completion percentage, Matt?
I am inclined to agree. Sam Darnold this year has been phenomenal, and the Vikings got to be kicking themselves. Got to be.
Yeah, but you're both spot on so far. This is the closest one so far, rushing yards. Matt, you can take lead on this one. Which team of the two do you think has the most rushing yards?
I'm going to say us. I think Kyren Williams and Blake Corum have been definitely productive this season. And they've got a lot of runs in. Kyren scored a lot of touchdowns. Where he's failed, Blake's come in and done what's required. So I would say between the two of them, very dynamic. I say we nip this, but it's, again, like the rest of it, it's going to be close.
And Mitch, what I quite like about this one is I feel like the two dynamics in the backfield are quite similar here in the Kyren Williams and Blake Corum, very similar to your Kenneth Walker Charbonnet. So, do you agree with Matt that the Rams edge this one, or are you going to back your boys?
I'm backing my boys. And I'll tell you what, I don't think we were ahead in this one until about week 15, because Ken Walker averaged 95 yards a game in those really difficult games towards the end against the Rams, against the 49ers. In that run-in, he was phenomenal. And I think against the 49ers in the regular season game, we had nearly 200 rushing yards. I think we went past the Rams right at the end of the year.
There are 56 yards in it. But the Rams do lead it. It is the Rams who lead this stat just. So, 2-1 to Matt. What about interceptions? Which team do you think? Again, this is incredibly close. And Mitch, I'll let you go first.
I know we've had a lot this year in comparison to previous years. I think we're 3 or 4 more than previous season. So I'm going to say the Seahawks, but this could go either way.
Seahawks is the bet for the Seahawks fan, Matt.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my boys. I think we've been quite prolific in defense. We've been very good at getting those interceptions when they've been required.
See, the first two questions, Jake, they were willing to admit where their team was wrong. And since that, they're back in there, boys. This one goes the way of the Seahawks, 18-16 on the interceptions front. So 2-2 deciding question. I'm wondering which one of these to go for. I will go for the most completions of over 40 yards. Again, this is a very, very close one. We know the people involved. We know the names involved, the receivers who are going to be making these big, deep catches. And whose turn does it start? Matt, it is your turn on the final one.
I think that Darnold may have nicked this. We've been very prolific in the short yardage games. In the first half of the season before Devontae Adams had his injury, his hamstring, like those 7-yard, 8-yard passes into the end zone with his bag. So I am inclined to say the Seahawks.
Okay, you've gone against your team on this one, Mitch.
But that makes me want to go for the Rams, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stick with my boys. I know that Sam Darnold's deep shot percentage, catchable balls, was by far the best in the league. But the amount of them, not sure. But I'm going to stick with the Seahawks on this one.
And you are both correct. So we do need a tiebreaker. The Seahawks have 12 to the Rams 8 on the season. So I will tell you now that both teams, as a tiebreaker, have the same. This is a special teams question. This is going to test you, boys. This is a real test now. On special teams, both teams have the same number of punts that have gone inside the opposition's 20-yard line. You're equal on this one on the season, but how many do you think both teams have had? And the nearest to the correct answer will win. So, Mitch, unfortunately, it's on you to start first.
Okay, I'm going to go with 1 a game, so we'll go with 17.
17 is the prediction.
Because I know some games we didn't punt that much, so I think maybe
that's why I like this question, because both of your teams electric on offense, so not a whole lot of punting going on. Matt, 17. Are you going to back yourself, or are you going to play the sneaky one higher, one lower tactic?
Well, I was inclined to say 20, but I feel that's too many. 17, 18. Ooh, gonna say 18.
You're going to say 18. Mitch, did you say 17? So you're both really close. They're both very good guesses. And Matt, you should have stuck with your gut, but you've won it anyway because it was 20 on the heads.
Wow.
Very good. Should have stuck with your first. I mean, you won anyway. So yeah, just an edge on the tiebreaker goes the way of the Rams, which is nice actually. A nice segue, because in the regular season, the overtime tiebreak didn't go the way of the Rams. It went the way of the Seahawks in what is probably, I mean, for me, I don't know about you, Jake, but that was my favorite game of the regular season.
I mean, it was a bizarre game, wasn't it? More than anything, I think it surprised all of us in terms of the rules that some of us knew, including the refs, and some of us didn't, including the refs. So, yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. So, I think that given what's happened on the AFC side of the ball, and I'm not saying I'm not playing my Buffalo card yet, referring to Bo Nix's injury and the fact that game now doesn't look as enticing, the NFL needed this conference championship game on the NFC side, because this is the one that people are going to want to tune in for. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward for chapter 3 of this saga.
I'm curious for you guys, from your point of view, as a Chargers fan, I'm not sure I'd want to take on the Chiefs in the AFC championship game. God forbid we ever got to one. But I think, because you've got that added spice now of it being a divisional rivalry game as well. So when you were watching the Bears against the Rams, Mitch, which way were you hoping? Were you hoping for the drama and the excitement of taking on the Rams again? Or was it a case of, screw those guys?
This is going to sound really egotistical and big-headed, but bear with me. This year has been the least Seahawky season I can ever remember. For as long as I can remember, we've looked like we're losing games and we won them, or we're winning games and we find a way to lose it. We don't control the games and get leads and hold them, and we don't play that boot-to-throat football that we've shown this year. I'm basking in not bothering who we play week to week. I've looked at next year's schedule, and I don't care that we've got a really difficult strength of schedule, because I just think we're playing well enough to not care. So I'm actually able to just go, well, that's going to be nice to have a rivalried championship game. So I'm not phased anymore, really.
And yourself, Matt, are you pleased it's got that added spice, or would you have preferred it to have been against someone you didn't know as familiar?
No, like playing a division team in the championship game is punchy. It's great. It's exciting. It makes for good viewing. Makes for a great game, because the other side is awful, but our side is punchy. It should be a really good game. I am worried. I'm very worried. Darnold's been phenomenal. As much as Matt Stafford and Puka have been great, Darnold is there or thereabouts. So it literally could go either way. We could turn up having beaten the Bears and absolutely flop. But equally, we could turn up and absolutely play out of our skins.
It's definitely on paper the more exciting of the two games. We're going to go into all the AFC Championship games. This episode of the HuddleUK podcast comes out on Friday. Tune in on Saturday when we're going to be covering all the AFC, and we're going to have fans on from those two teams as well. But I want to get me and Jake, we're curious why you guys, I guess, back your teams. Matt, I'll start with you, and I'll start with the Rams question. I guess a lot of the confidence has to come from, I guess this is, stating the obvious really, but Matt Stafford, in however old he is now, has probably put together one of his best statistical seasons ever. Puka Nacua looks like he could catch anything that's thrown in his direction. The one against the Panthers was amazing. The one against the Falcons, although or it was out of bounds right at the end.
It's amazing.
If he falls infield, he catches that. He is, for me, one of the most exciting, best players. I don't have any love for the LA Rams as an LA Chargers fan, but I love watching them play, and I love watching Puka Nacua play. Do you think that's enough? I guess is the question, because Devontae Adams had a quieter game against the Bears. He did make one great grab late on. Do you think the Stafford-Puka connection and, what Kyron Williams can offer on the ground will be enough to carry you through this game? Because we've seen how good that Seahawks defense is.
Yes, I do. I think that all eyes will be on Puka. You can't afford to ignore number 12. He's too electric. You have to double team him, triple team him, and he still somehow manages to get a ball and make yardage. If that's the case, if the Seahawks double team and triple team, that will leave space elsewhere. That'll leave space for Devontae. That'll leave space for Mumfield. That'll leave space for Whittington, who are all lurking in the background, ready to have their time in the sun. Devontae, yes, last week he was quiet, but still coming off a hamstring. They're obviously playing it safe. It was Baltic in Chicago, and it was always going to be pretty much a run game, because throwing a ball around in that temperature is like throwing a rock. So, yeah, I do think that Matt Stafford to Puka will become critical, and he will make those plays when required, but he's also equally good at diversion tactics, whatever you want to call it, to free up space for other people, blocking, etc., etc. And even if we have our 3 tight ends on, the choice is wild. They're all as good as each other, and we're going to create a lot of problems if we play all 3.
Yeah, a big fan of Colby Parkinson. Ever since you paid him, took him a while to get going, didn't he? But he seems to be obviously you've got Terrence Ferguson waiting in the wings as well as the kind of recent draft pick. And then Tyler Higby's back, isn't he?
As much as all eyes will be on Puka, we've got the rest of the guys who will be there to help him.
One name you mentioned in there was Mumfield, which was a name I was not expecting to hear tonight, or really ever a lot of the time. Except Phil has actually seen a Mumfield touchdown in the flesh this season, haven't you? Again, a name that I didn't expect to hear that Sunday afternoon, but he ruined a lot of parlays, I think, by the sounds of it.
That was one of the were you at the game this year, Matthew, at Wembley?
I was. I was at the Jags game. I was, because I'm in the army. I was flag bearing, so I was opening up the Union flag on the floor, and I've done that for the last 8-9 years. We get a Buckshee ticket, a free ticket for the game. So
wow,
yeah, it's very cool.
I do. I remember. I think it's number 15, Mumfield, and I remember because we were there for Huddle. We were doing the podcast there, and I had the big sheet of all the players' names, and I remember seeing 15 going in, and who the heck is that?
Yeah,
no idea.
I asked the same question to the Rams fans next to me in the ground.
Yeah, who is this guy?
Who was that? And they're like, it's Mumfield.
Although the reason I love that game, and myself and Jake, we've talked about it loads on the podcast. We like to put a few bets on here and there, not to an obsessive level, but we like to each week put a more creative bet on. And my creative bet of that day while we were at Wembley, I put £10 on a Terrence Ferguson anytime touchdown, and he hadn't scored one to that point, which paid off a few £100. So was very happy with that one.
Yeah. For the record, when the fun stops, stop. But I've never actually had the fun start with our betting league, to be honest. So it's just absolutely dreadful. So talking of elite wide receivers, Puka Nacua, Mumfield, there's a chat that we've mentioned a few times on this podcast previously. I want to talk, Mitch, about Jackson Smith-Njigba, and specifically about the fact that the offense specifically runs through him. I think we'll get to Sam Darnold a bit in a second. But can you just kind of, how key is Jackson Smith-Njigba going to be to staying, basically, the Rams are the highest scoring team in the league this season. So the Seahawks, as much as their defense is going to have to do a job, their offense is also going to have to keep going. So, how key is it for JSN, and what are we really looking out for that, Chris Schuler on the defensive side for the Rams is going to be trying to stop him?
I think what you need to sort of understand about a Kubiak offense is that those big sort of intermediate throws that turn into big plays or the deep shots that Darnold's able to take are a symptom of, so much meshing of passing underneath and blocking schemes and the offensive line getting up to the next level on run plays and that dragging safeties shallow and then, opening all of that up. Jackson Smith-Njigba isn't actually, this is controversial, but I'm going to say it, he's not actually is not a key mechanic of the functionality of our offense. He is the beneficiary of when it's working well. He becomes the hammer that gets that home run. So I don't think us playing a good game on offense is I don't think he's key to that. I think he's the major beneficiary of when it's all ticking well.
I appreciate you obviously explaining to a Bills fan just how Clint Kubiak is going to be key as well, because obviously he is highly touted for the Bills head coaching role. So I'm looking forward to us hiring him.
He's terrible.
Then,
you don't want him.
Well, hiring him and then not having a Jackson Smith-Njigba for him. So immediately regretting the decision, as will probably he, but there you go. So, yeah.
Tell you, Mike McDaniel's going to be pleased. The Chargers going to the Super Bowl next year. Don't care what anyone says. What a move that was. Matt, we've talked about the positive of the Rams. Have you seen anything in the Seahawks when you've seen them play or when you've played against them this year, which, not to throw shade at your opponent and Mitch here, but has there been anything about the Seahawks that you've seen that you think the Rams can exploit?
Yeah, I mean, and it comes down to our tight ends. If if they're on form, they create such a diversion to free up, as I said, Puka and Devontae, that we can. And if we play well, we should win and we should beat them. That will be the crux of the game. However, on the flip side, our defense needs to shut their run game down. Now, we've had a massive bonus with Charbonnet going down, which I think is a shame because it takes some of the edge off the game. But as a Rams fan, with him not on the field, I think you've signed someone today or yesterday to
Jamal
kind of
Williams.
fill that gap. But
Jamal Williams, I had a very busy day and I've not seen Jamal Williams back. That is exciting news. Sorry.
But I don't know if he'll have enough time to bed into the team, into the Seahawks team, to be able to carry off those runs. So I think as long as we can shut that run down, we'll be all right.
Yeah, the Rams have allowed 7 touchdowns to tight ends this year. So it'll be interesting to see, particularly given the amount of tight ends that you run on the field. It will be interesting to see if they can do anything about that for sure. Mitch, sort of similarly, is there anything that you've seen from the Rams in either of the games or when you've watched them play that you think, we've just got the better of them here?
Yeah, I think there's one obvious one, and I won't go into it too much because it's dull. But the Seahawks special team unit this year has made the difference in tight games. The return game is unbelievable, and Jason Myers is automatic with his kicking. When games are tight, and those are two things. If you've got in a tight game, if you've got a good special teams unit and you've got a great kicker, you've got a chance of stealing a tight game. That we have. But I think if there's one area that I think we might just come out on top, I know it wasn't the case in the epic game we had recently, but I do think that the Seahawks defense is not good because of its component parts. It's good because of the scheme and the effort. And I think that differs slightly to the Rams defense. I think there's been some players in there this year for them that have really sort of shown up in games and helped them out, and they've not had to do too much because their offense has been that automatic as well. So I think the defensive scheme is harder to pick through because there's a huge amount of buy-in. It's well coached, and Mike McDonald's a master there. So I think the defense that we have is slightly having the edge over the Rams defense.
What have you seen?
Sorry, Phil. Yeah, I just want to touch on Mike McDonald there because my opinion of Mike McDonald was that his first season was a little bit of a not an abject failure, but just not good. Now, looking back, actually, that was not the case. Like the Seahawks went 10-7, like it was absolutely fine. And he's really kind of kicked it up a notch. And equally, we've seen the Baltimore Ravens go in reverse, where their defense has fallen apart, which is always a great sign that you've made the right hire and that you're trending in the right direction when whoever you've pinched has then really regressed. We've seen, that similarly with kind of the New York Jets falling apart, and then Rob Saleh going to the San Francisco 49ers and again, and their defense kind of really progressing. So I want to talk about Mike Macdonald just a second. Is he getting the right amount of love? Because he's second favorite in Coach of the Year, but it's not close for Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel's 1-5 on Sky Bet at the moment, and Mike Macdonald's 10-3. And I think that's arguably potentially a little bit disrespectful to Mike Macdonald. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, some stats on Mike Macdonald in his time at Baltimore and his time with the Seahawks. He took the Baltimore's defense from 27th to 1st in over a 2-year span, and he's taken the Seahawks defense from the same spot, 27th to 1st in a 2-year span. So there is remarkable consistency with taking below mediocrity. I was about to call it mediocrity. That is far below mediocrity from where we were. He's done it again, and I think that shows his methods and his ethos are really sound and repeatable. And I think as long as your head coach has got repeatable processes, clear communication, a good idea of his identity and what he needs in his coaching staff, you can do that anywhere. You can find the pieces to slot into that to make it work. So I think that the Seattle fans the 12s are really confident in what he does. But you said about the failure the previous season. I'm not going to push back on that too much, but I think when you look at the first 12 games, we were pretty terrible, or wildly inconsistent. There was a loss to the Giants in there, for God's sake, pretty terrible. But actually, if you look at the last 5 games of the season, statistically, our defense alone was top 5. So there was a sign at the end of last season that there were shoots, there were green shoots of what was coming. And now I think we started the season, apart from that game against the Niners, we sort of carried that on and grew with it. So, I think he's done a remarkable job. I think Vrabel's done a great job too. I don't mind those two being the top 2.
Yeah.
Mike Macdonald's thinking about Super Bowls over here.
I will say last season, you fired Ryan Grubb after last season, which probably went a long way as well towards kind of turning things around. So I stand by it, and I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head there with the fact that it was a slow process for Macdonald to turn it around, and probably we were paying attention to the Seahawks coming into the season enough to see that they were going to really hit the ground running come year 2, and that's exactly what's happened.
The other element of this game that I really like, and obviously when you have 2 teams from the same division, it happens, but Sam Darnold could become just the 8th quarterback to lead a team to a Super Bowl in his first year. The last one to do that was Matthew Stafford back in 2021. And of course, MVP Super Bowl Cooper Kupp for the Rams is now on the Seahawks. Cooper Kupp is not the same player now who he was then. We all know that. But Matt, do you have any concerns whenever you see, lining up against Cooper Kupp, where you just say, because I did this, with the Chargers, we lost to a Hunter Henry touchdown in the wildcard round. And I was like, I knew it. I knew it was going to be him. If it was always going to be the ex-Charger to do it. So even though people want to talk about Shaheed's returning and JSN, when you see Cooper Kupp, do you have a little bit of, oh, please, anyone but him, anyone but that guy?
Yeah, obviously, I don't, as much as I don't want him to have the game-winning touchdown, he was such a dynamic player for us as a team. His connection with Matt Stafford in that season was just ridiculous. So as much as I would be absolutely devastated if he was scored the winning touchdown and knocked us out, equally on the flip side, if the Seahawks then went on to win and Cooper Kupp got another Super Bowl ring, I wouldn't be too devastated for him. I'd be like, you know what, fair play.
Well, I mean, the Rams have won 4 straight conference championship games, not to down your hopes there, Mitch. You guys, the Rams, do well, or in recent times anyway, it's actually 7-9 all time. The Seahawks, on the flip side, to give them the confidence, 3-0 when it comes to NFC Championship games. They did lose back when they were an AFC team. They're one. So just sort of to round things off, I am going to put you both on the spot and get a score prediction from you both. I know people hate doing it. Matt, you looked more stressed about that. Mitch, you look very calm and confident. So I'm going to start with you. I'm going to guess in both of these instances you're going to back your sides, and I understand why. But Mitch, talk me through how you think the game's going to go and what you think the full-time score is going to be.
I think it's going to be a war of attrition. I don't think we're going to see what we saw in week 17. I think it will be a battle of defenses. I don't see either team scoring over 20 in this one. I think the Seahawks edge it, but it won't be by more than a score. So I mean, let's go 24-17, something like that. I think I could see. I certainly see the Rams scoring. They're too good not to. Their offense is good. As good as our defense is, they'll score a lot. And I think it will go to the final quarter, and it'll be a nervy one. But yeah, something like that, 24-17.
A one-score game, 24-17. That would be a good one. Matt, how are you seeing it?
I'm seeing it literally as Mitch is saying it. I think it's going to be a brutal game. It's going to be very, very tight, and it's going to come down to a field goal in the last 2-3 minutes. But I'm going to say, similar to the score in Chicago, I'm going to say 2017 to the Rams. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a bruising game. And there's going to be a lot of players who are going to be on their chin straps at the end of it.
Just on that, because you mentioned field goals and Mitch mentioned the special teams. Obviously, the Rams had such well-documented special teams issue this season. It was only, I think, less than a month ago, or maybe a month to the day, where they got rid of Chase Blackburn, who was the special teams coordinator. There was missed kicks, there was blocked punts. It was the absolute lot. They brought in, you don't remember this, Is it Harrison Mevis?
Yeah,
Mevis is definitely the thicker kicker, because he doesn't look like any kicker I've ever seen in my life.
He's definitely a bit chunky.
He's a stocky bloke. Yeah, he's a stocky dude. But from what I've seen of him, I can't remember seeing many misses, if any. And I know they're not giving him as many kicks because, he doesn't have the experience, and they're not giving him 55-yarders all the time.
Yeah.
But Mitch did mention the special teams. From what I've seen, you'll know more, but it has looked markedly better since they made that change at coordinator.
Yeah, it's been an absolute horror show until he made that decision. For me, it should have been made a lot earlier in the season after the block punt against the Eagles game, where we should have hands down won that game. But since Mevis has been here, we have been better. I don't want to jinx it. We have been much better. But like you say, we haven't given him the big yardage kicks that he needs to do. Having said that, though, ice in his veins, either that or he was so cold kicking against the Bears that it didn't matter.
Yeah, I think everyone was frozen solid. As I said a minute ago, we are going to talk AFC on tomorrow's episode. And I think I know this answer, with no disrespect to what's going to happen in that AFC game, but would you both prefer to face a Jared Stidham Broncos, I imagine, rather than a Drake May Patriots?
Clearly, yes. But equally, I'd like to play the Patriots and then thump them. I'm not going to lie. Absolutely thump them for a bit of revenge for the travesty of Atlanta.
And speaking of revenge, Mitch, you talked right at the top about your first Super Bowl watch. I guess revenge would be a nice taste for you as well.
Yeah, I want to just say that this could be the most perfect Super Bowl run of all time. You've got 49ers in our first game, knocking them out of what would have been a home Super Bowl. Nope, not having that. Get on your holidays. Then the Rams in the championship game. Sorry, Matt, but hopefully knock them out, get to Santa Clara, and get our own back on the Patriots in a Super Bowl in the 49ers backyard. That is the perfect Super Bowl for any team ever.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. To go and win the Super Bowl in the home of the Winers would be amazing. Like, it'd be absolutely, I would be on cloud nine, not going to lie.
Do you think, because we haven't mentioned this, you talk about the 12s, Mitch, and Lumen Field is one of the louder stadiums across the league. How big a factor do you think that plays on Sunday against the Rams?
I think it plays a big factor in any game. Our home record, though, has been far worse than our away record under McDonald. So I can sit here and tell you it's a huge factor. Actually, we haven't capitalized on that in recent times. However, the game against the 49ers, the kickoff return for Shaheed, actually, again, like the Beastquake, was registered on the Richter scale as a small earthquake. So the noise in Lumen is back. And I think that they will make it the most difficult atmosphere for Stafford as possible. However, his connection with Puka Nacua is automatic, and there's certain elements that noise would usually have that are not applicable to Stafford. I would say, with being the veteran he is, a rookie quarterback or a less experienced one, that is a seriously daunting prospect. Stafford, don't expect him to be faced.
Jake, I know you don't support either of these two teams, and I'll put myself on the same line in a moment, but facing them now, you've got a Seahawks fan and a Rams fan staring at you. Whose hopes and dreams are you going to crush with your prediction? Who do you think comes out on top?
I'm going Seahawks in this. And I actually think that it's going to be by more than one score.
Already.
Yeah, I know it's bold. I think that they're trending in slightly opposite directions. I think, unfortunately, sorry, Matt, but I think the Rams looked far hotter earlier on in the season. And I think the idea of going to a pretty frosty Lumen Field with a pass first offense, I feel particularly good about it. I can't believe I'm backing a Sam Darnold led team. If you'd said that to me, even last season when things were starting to fall apart in Minnesota, as great as he's been, he's still prone to seeing ghosts. He's thrown 4 picks
it's
against
also
this Rams
against
team
the
already.
Rams.
Exactly. So, but I do think that the Seahawks have got it to a point now where they don't need to ask big questions of him. And as a Bills fan, I'd love to not have to ask massive questions of your quarterback every time you want to get to a Super Bowl. That should be the aim of any general manager. Phil, you're the same as well. You've got a quarterback that's running for his life every single game. Like, how about we just build a good team that agnostically can just make it to a Super Bowl? But that's why we're hosting and not guests on a podcast talking about going to a Super Bowl, I suppose. So I think the Seahawks are going to win. I think it'll be by 10. I think we're probably looking at 31-21.
I like to disagree with you, Jake, as any listener to this podcast will attest to. But unfortunately for you, for me, and for you, Matt, more specifically, I'm in the same boat. I just think, despite Darnold's wobbles against the Rams, and they've been quite severe, the two of the last 3 games anyway, one of them with the Vikings. I don't know. I think the Seahawks at home. I just think it's the defense. I think that's where I fall on this, because as good as pretty much anyone they've come up against, CMC looked unstoppable for the 49ers. He was having one of his best years. Seahawks play them. Christian who that defensive line, the whole defense is just very good. And we talk about Kubiak and the offense. I think it's the defensive side of the ball that's going to win this game. And the Rams have got a good defense as well. It's not that they have a bad one. I just think the Seahawks is exceptional, and defense wins championships is that old adage. Just before we go, Mitch, I know you've got your own podcast. For anyone who's listening to this who's a Seahawks fan, where can they find you guys?
So I and my good friend Josh run the 12 Talk community and 12 Talk podcast. You can find us at 12 Talk Pod or at 12 Talk Podcast on everything. That's YouTube, that's X, that's Insta, anything, anywhere where you could find content, you'll find us at 12 Talk Pod. We have a Discord as well, which is a really fast-growing community. You can find that there as our pinned tweet on X, and you can find it there on any of our YouTube videos. If you are a 12 and you're looking for somewhere to talk with other 12s, come and find us in the Discord or tune into our shows anywhere where you can get content.
And Matt, I know it's not your page specifically, but you're part of the UK Rams group, who I think there's some over 4,000 followers over there, and I imagine a real community of Rams fans in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. That we're all over the place. when I was at the London game coming back, I was stood at Paddington in my jumper and chatting to a guy who was going all the way down to Penzance, who was a Rams fan. So yeah, we have a really good, like the 12's a really good Discord group. We're on Twitter and Instagram, etc. So look out for the LA Rams UK groups. We're out there. Come and join us and live the dream.
And not intentionally, we've got on someone else from Cardiff, which is hilarious. So yeah, not my plan. I just feel like people from Cardiff navigate to this podcast somehow, and it's not my fault. I'm not taking fault in that. Mitch, thank you for joining. Matt, thank you for joining. And good luck to both your sides. Obviously, the Rams and the Seahawks. The second game of this conference championship weekend. One of those teams going on to the Super Bowl. We'll see who it will be. An NFC West team, though, for sure. And me and Jake are just going to have a little bit of a quiz ourselves just to round off the episode. A big thank you to Matt and a big thank you to Mitch for joining us. Good luck to your two teams this weekend. No skin in the game, as we keep saying, me and Jake. And this one, I just hope it's a really good game. If it's anything like that last game that went to overtime at Lumen Field, we're going to be in for a treat. But where me and Jake are going to go head to head, as we do now at the end of each episode, drafting a team. We've been doing divisions, but as there are 4 teams left in the playoffs, 4 potential Super Bowl winners, we thought we would go head to head drafting from the teams that remain. That, of course, are the Broncos, the Patriots, the Seahawks, and the Rams. So, as we've been doing, we've been snake drafting at people's request. I had a shocker last time when I forgot the existence of Drake London, and people have told Jake his errors in his ways of drafting running backs in the same round that I have when there's other positions to fill.
People have forgotten my errors, Phil, but the Drake London error will live long, and I will make sure of it.
Yeah, well, Chris Olave might outperform him for the rest of the career, and I might look very smart. But no, I'm a big. I just forgot about the existence of Drake London last time, but I won't forget this week. I'm sure to redeem myself on this week's episode. So we're gonna have 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex player each. We're going to be snaking drafting. Jake, I've got a randomizer on my screen for who goes first. I will spin that, and it says you do. I think what we will say to make this interesting is we will take injuries into account here. So if you were trying to draft the best teams that are available players currently this weekend.
I see. So no Knicks is what you're saying.
Or Charbonnet or others who may fall into that category.
Fair
yes.
enough.
It's your turn to go first. So have your say, your first pick.
Okay. So we're going to, controversially, maybe, I'm going to take, right? If you'd said this 2 weeks ago, this would have been, the internet's going to come for me. I'm going to take Kyron Williams, which leaves it wide open for you.
Which means in my snake, as we're snaking, I've got the easiest decision I think that I could have here with 2 wide receiver slots that need fill-in. I will take potentially the 2 best wide receivers in football and take Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yes, which means that the internet will come for me, and I'm okay with that because there is strategy. There is strategy to this because now I'm on the clock for my 2 picks. So I will take Travion Henderson because I believe Ramondre Stevenson is going to be out this week.
He is questionable at the time of recording.
Yeah, I think he's got an eye injury, which is always a little bit concerning. So I'll take Travion Henderson into my flex spot. And then I will take Devontae Adams for my first wide receiver.
Interesting. So you are taking wide receiver even though I can't take any more. I mean, I know I can technically take another one, can't I? Because I have a
You can with the flex
spot.
Yeah.
A flex spot to fill. Yeah. Okay. You've stacked up on your running backs there, but I'm quite happy because one of my favorite running backs still playing this weekend, who I've just mentioned at the start of the episode, had a monster game. I will take Kenneth Walker as my RB1 in this draft. I think he's a great player, and with Charbonnet out, could have a monster game. And I'm looking then towards the quarterbacks, and May had a few interesting turnovers against the Texans, and the Broncos are going to be without Bo Nix, but the defense is still very good there. All the defenses are tough. Maybe I pivot away from that, and I'll take a man who we talked fair about with both Matt and with Mitch, and I think I'm going to go for my tight end here, and I'll take Colby Parkinson.
Oh, interesting. Very nice. So Colby Parkinson, big fan of Colby Parkinson, as I've already mentioned. So, but not who I was going to go with for tight ends. I think maybe a bit too Ramsey. Matt probably likes my lineup with the Devontae Adams and the Kyron Williams of it all, but a bit too Ramsey for me to go Colby Parkinson. I won't go tight end then, because don't need to. Also, don't need to go wide receiver. Well, can you technically still take a flex?
I can still take a flex.
You can still take a flex. So there is wide receiver still out there then. So it's really interesting on the AFC side because, quite frankly, Cortland Sutton's now catching passes from Jarrett Stidham. Don't really love that. Equally, if you look at the wide receivers over in New England, you've got Stephon Diggs, who's probably going to be shadowed by Pat Surtain. Not really very enticing that side either. So really interesting. I don't have any stake in a Seahawk as of yet. So controversial because he's not exactly being phenomenal. It's a bit debatable, but I'm actually going to take Rashid Shaheed here. I know that he's been largely on special teams, so that's a little bit strange. But I'm going to take Rashid Shaheed. I think he's got big game capability still. I don't really love Cooper Kupp. I don't think he stretches the field for what I want. What I want is for the Seahawks to potentially, like Mitch has said, kind of go get some yak and really expose the Rams cornerbacks. And Shaheed has the raw speed to do that.
So you need a quarterback and a tight end, and you've got one more pick on this turn.
I just have a feeling that the Patriots at home, Drake May has been so good, and as good as the Broncos defense has been, they have been susceptible on the ground. Drake May can move his feet. I get the feeling there's going to be some short yardage situations just because Jarrett Stidham might not move the ball. So I think Drake May's potentially going to have a solid game here. So I'll take Drake May as my quarterback, almost definitely leaving you the other MVP candidate, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I have my quarterback and my flex to take. I will take Matthew Stafford, even though, as I've just said, I think the Seahawks win the game. I think, the Rams are going to have to score points in this game to stay in it. And I think Matthew Stafford gets at least one touchdown to the likes of, well, hopefully Parkinson for my team, but for your team, maybe Devontae Adams. And then for my flex player, I'm going to go, I think, what would be considered slightly outside the box and maybe a little bit more surprising. I'm going to take Kayshon Boutte as my flex player because he's a player ever since he came out of LSU I've had really high hopes for. It didn't start off well in the rookie year. First week of this season, I think he went for over 100 yards and I got really excited. And he has shown flashes of it, and particularly that catch against the Texans last weekend. He's a player of real quality, very, very boom or bust sort of player, but as a flex option, I don't mind that. So give me Kayshon Boutte to round off my team.
So I need a tight end to close out. So I feel like I've chosen this guy before. It's a guy near and dear to your heart for obvious reasons, mainly because he dumped you out of the playoffs very, very recently. So I'm going to go for the Charger killer, the Drake May stack with Hunter Henry.
Yeah, I hate that guy.
Sorry.
Hunter Henry goes into your lineup to round things off. So that means Jake's lineup, for those who aren't watching it over on YouTube, we've got Drake May at quarterback, Kyron Williams at running back, Devontae Adams, Rashid Shaheed as the wide receiver 1 and 2, Hunter Henry at tight end, and then Travion Henderson in the flex. I've got Matthew Stafford at quarterback, Kenneth Walker as my running back, Puka Nacua and JSN my wide receivers, with Colby Parkinson at tight end and Kayshon Boutte, the boom or bust Boutte at flex. That's it for today. Thank you very much for joining us. Let us know in the comments which team you think won out of those two lineups. I fancy my wide receiver pairing. I just can't see past JSN and Puka Nacua. Those two guys could win any fantasy lineup on their own in any given week. But let us know if you think Jake's team won. Tell me where I've gone wrong. And we're going to be back tomorrow. Normally there's a week. More HuddleUK content for you to enjoy this week. We've got loads of stories, as always, over on the HuddleUK website at huddleuk.com. Jake has had a in-depth breakdown of the Bills season and where it all went wrong for McDermott, which is a really good read, as well as all the other teams, the teams that are still in the playoffs, they're having their say as well. So go check out all of that. Make sure to give us a 5-star review, a thumbs up, a subscribe, whatever it may be, wherever you are. I've been the host, Philip Marsh. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow for our AFC Championship Conference breakdown.